The wind whistled through his ears like the whispers of street ghosts. Tommy, the 12-year-old boy, with skinny legs and wild eyes, sped through the bustling Brooklyn market. He clutched a still-hot loaf of bread tightly, its crispy crust still carrying the fresh scent of flour from the old Italian lady's stall. Damn it today, I have to get something for my little sister, Tommy thought to himself, his heart pounding like a war drum. Behind him, police sirens blared, heavy footsteps pursued, and shouts echoed. "Stop, kid! You're dead meat!" Late afternoon in Brooklyn was a chaotic maze, stalls of pungent fresh fish, shrill vendor calls from Italian and Greek immigrants, crowds swarming like a burst anthill. Tommy dodged. A fat lady, haggling over vegetables, leaped over a rolling trash bin, sweat soaking into his tattered shirt. He remembered the hunger well, the gnawing emptiness in his gut. Since his mother died from that cursed illness 2 years ago, and his father drowned in booze before vanishing without a word. Now, it was just him and his 7-year-old sister Lily, huddled in a damp rental room where dinner was often just water and dreams of golden loaves. "Run, Tommy. Don't let them catch you," an inner voice urged. He veered into a dark alley, hoping to lose them. But the sirens grew closer, headlights glaring through the shadows. End of the line. He thought, his back hitting the cold brick wall. 2 panting cops grabbed his collar. "You're done for, kid. Theft this time means juvie." Suddenly, bang! A deafening crash rang out. A sleek black Rolls-Royce, gleaming under the streetlights, shot from the intersection, screeching to a halt and blocking the cop's path. The door flew open, and a tall man stepped out in an impeccably tailored black suit, silver-streaked hair, his deep voice warm yet commanding. "Let the boy go. He works for me." The cops froze, releasing Tommy. The boy stared in astonishment at the stranger. He, Marco Rossi, owner of the famous Italian restaurant chain across New York, scanned Tommy from the crumpled loaf to his hole-ridden shoes. "From now on, you'll wash dishes for me," he said, without hesitation. "Don't make me regret it. Get in the car." Tommy hesitated, but hunger and fear propelled him forward. The car sped into the night, leaving the Brooklyn market behind, with curious stares. He didn't know that this moment wouldn't just save a loaf of bread, but an entire life. And in the luxurious kitchen of Rossi Italia, where the aromas of roasted garlic and tomato sauce wafted, Tommy would discover something greater, a latent talent waiting to awaken, and a second chance from the benevolent hand of a stranger. The Rolls-Royce glided smoothly through Brooklyn's neon-lit streets, but Tommy huddled in the back seat, still clutching the now cold loaf of bread. The luxurious leather scent mingled with his fearful sweat, creating a bizarre contrast. Mr. Marco Rossi, the man who had just saved him from jail, said nothing, only glancing through the rearview mirror with deep brown eyes that seemed to pierce the boy's past. "Eat," he nodded toward the loaf. Tommy hesitated, took a bite, crumbs scattering onto the car floor. The familiar flour taste now turned bitter with tears. They stopped in front of Rossi Italia, a lavish Italian restaurant in Little Italy, where warm golden light spilled from the windows and the seductive aroma of sautéed garlic and bolognese sauce filled the air. Inside, well-dressed diners savored seafood spaghetti, their laughter mingling with the clinking of wine glasses. Tommy had never seen a place like this. Tables, draped in pristine white linens, flickering candles, and chefs in spotless white aprons, bustling around the stoves. Marco led him through the back door, into the chaotic kitchen, steam billowing the sizzle of cast-iron pans and shouts in a mix of Italian and English. "This is the new kid," Marco announced to head chef Luigi, a burly Italian with a thick mustache. "Dishwashing, starting tomorrow." Luigi glared at Tommy. "Street rat boss, you're joking. These kids only know how to break things." But Marco ignored him, shoving Tommy toward the massive sink piled with grease-caked pans and tomato sauce-crusted plates. "Get to it. 12 hours a day, $50 a week. Enough to feed your sister." Tommy nodded eagerly, his hands trembling as he grabbed the first sponge. Hot water blasted his face, slippery fish grease, but he gritted his teeth. That first night, his hands blistered, his back ached. But the image of Lily, huddled at the rental room, kept him silent. The first weeks were hell. Tommy cleaned until 2 a.m., dozing fitfully on sacks behind the kitchen, then dragged himself 3 blocks home. His first paycheck crumpled $50 bills. He raced back with a bag of potatoes, eggs, and a huge loaf of bread. Lily squealed at the sight. "Tommy, we have dinner." He hugged her, tears streaming. "From now on, I have a job, Lily. You'll go back to school." It was the first time Tommy tasted the sweetness of honest work, not theft, but sweat, exchanged for hope. But talent doesn't sleep. One late night after the restaurant closed, Tommy sneaked into the kitchen with scraps ground, beef bits, old mozzarella, squished tomatoes, and flour from the bakery counter. Stomach growling, he kneaded dough with his calloused hands, seasoning by street instinct, a pinch of sea salt, minced garlic, stolen Italian herbs from the spice rack. He grilled a meat-filled sandwich on the scorching cast-iron pan. Crispy crust, melting tomato-sauced meat, gooey cheese, stretching in strings. The aroma wafted, waking Marco, who was tallying books in his office. He stepped in, sniffing. "What's this?" Tommy panicked, nearly dropping the creation. I was hungry, sir." Marco took a bite. His eyes lit up. "Dio mio, this is genius." He summoned Luigi and the other chefs. "Taste it. This kid just invented Brooklyn-bred hero, street-style Italian meat sandwich." Luigi chewed voraciously, then nodded. "It's damn good. But how does a dishwasher know this?" From that day, Tommy's life flipped. Mornings he still washed dishes, but evenings he apprenticed under Marco. The man taught him the Rossi family secrets: stuffing paper-thin ravioli, perfect pizza dough, rising, balancing marinara sauce's acid and sweetness. "Cooking is redemptive art," Marco said, pointing to the blue flame. "I was like you, Italian immigrant, 40 years ago, washing dishes in Brooklyn to avoid starvation. A boss gave me a chance. Now I pay it forward." Tommy listened, eyes shining. He was insecure about his past. "I used to steal, sir. I'm not worthy." Marco clapped his shoulder. "Everyone has shadows, Tommy. But talent is light. Use it to illuminate others." A father-son bond formed. Tommy used his wages to buy textbooks, for Lily walked her to school. He created more dishes, red wine braised beef sandwiches inspired by Brooklyn markets. Customers' raved lines stretched long. Rossi Italia boomed like never before. After 2 years, Tommy was no longer the dish boy. He was head chef, hands flipping pans, deftly smile, radiant under kitchen lights. But deep down, he knew the journey was just beginning. A greater crisis loomed ahead, and Bread and Redemption, the name he gave his dream, was about to face the fire. 3 years flew by like a whirlwind in the Rossi Italia kitchen. Tommy, now 15, had grown tall and sturdy, his calloused hands scarred from burns, but nimble like an artisan's. He was the soul of the restaurant, crafting an upscale Brooklyn-bred hero, with veal braised in red wine and homemade pesto drawing VIP diners from Manhattan. Revenue soared. The Rossi chain expanded by 3 branches. But dark clouds gathered on a drizzly autumn morning. A strange flu pandemic swept New York restaurants, shuttered endlessly. Customers vanished, bills piled up, staff quit en masse. Luigi, the arrogant head chef, defected to a rival, taking secret recipes. Mr. Marco, now over 60, fell gravely ill, weakened heart, hospitalized, with breathing tubes and sleepless nights of worry. "Tommy," he whispered over the phone voice. "Frail, the chain. It's my dream. Don't let it die." Tommy swallowed tears, nodding at the screen. "I'll take care of it, Dad." Marco, the boy who once stole bread, now shouldered an empire, managing 3 restaurants alone. Tommy proposed a bold plan: transform the upscale menu into gourmet street food, window-serve sandwiches at affordable prices for workers blending traditional Italian ingredients. "We'll save Rossi by going back to real Brooklyn." Tommy rallied the remaining staff. But opposition erupted. Maria, the veteran manager, shook her head. "You're crazy. 5-star guests want caviar, not market bread," the sous chef muttered. "The thief kid, playing Boss Rossi, will collapse because of you." Inner conflict exploded. Late at night in the cold kitchen, Tommy sat amid scraps, recalling his police chase. Who am I, street rat or chef? He experimented with a new dish, redemption loaf. Crusty, baked bread, stuffed with slow-braised Italian beef, fresh Brooklyn tomato sauce, melting burrata cheese topping, and vibrant basil leaves, meaning redemption, rising from poverty's ashes. But failures piled up, oven-broke bread, burned black sauce too sour. First tasters mocked. "Tastes like market scraps." Tommy punched the table, tears flowing, hands shaking on the knife. "I'm not worthy. I'll destroy everything." The next morning, devastating news: the bank demanded repayment. Rossi Italia on the brink of bankruptcy. Tommy staggered to the hospital. Mr. Marco, pale on his sickbed, gripped his hand. "Listen to me, son. Failure is the spice of success. Remember, I lost my first restaurant to a fire, but a crazy idea saved me. Street pizza sold to Italian workers. You have fire in you, Tommy. Ignite it." His words were a torch. Tommy returned to the kitchen, eyes red with resolve. He fixed the oven-perfected redemption loaf. On the 50th try, golden, crispy crust, tender herb-infused meat sauce, balanced sweet like a promise of hope. The turning point came with Brooklyn Night, the salvation event. Tommy turned Rossi Italia into a street festival, free entry for poor kids, inviting VIPs and press. Outdoor tables, under the drizzle, mobile ovens, billowing smoke. "Tonight, we don't sell, we give," Tommy shouted, flipping pans before the crowd. The first redemption loaf went to a homeless boy like his former self. "Eat up, kid, and dream big." The aroma spread. VIPs tasted, eyes widening. This is a masterpiece, soul-saving bread. Press swarmed. From orphan to genius, chef, Rossi, reborn. That night, Rossi Italia overflowed. Revenue doubled, orders poured in nationwide. Mr. Marco was discharged, hugging Tommy at the restaurant door. You did it, son. Now, the chain is yours. Time passed in an emotional montage. Tommy at 22, studying business at community college, nights opening the 5th branch. Marco retired. Tommy bought the chain, symbolically, for a golden loaf and a promise. I won't forget my roots. Bread and Redemption was born a 5-star chain from New York to Chicago, where every loaf told a redemption story. Tommy stood at the climax peak, but knew success isn't the end, but a springboard to give back. The humanitarian journey had just begun. 10 years after the fateful Brooklyn night, Tommy, now 32, stood at the pinnacle of success. Bread and Redemption became an American culinary icon. 25 5-star restaurants, stretching from coast to coast, each dish bearing the mark of redemption, from the legendary Redemption loaf to pasta for the homeless. Revenue reached hundreds of millions, yet Tommy kept his modest Brooklyn apartment, where he and Lily, now an elementary school teacher, shared dinners at the old wooden table. His sister hugged him. Tommy, I'm so proud of you. From a stolen loaf to this empire. But Tommy's heart felt incomplete. He missed Mr. Marco. The spiritual father retired in a small New Jersey suburban home, living simply with an Italian vegetable garden and afternoon fishing. One sunny Sunday morning, Tommy drove his old pickup truck, not the flashy Rolls-Royce, to visit. The door opened to an older Marco, hair fully white, but eyes still sharp. Tommy, my son. They embraced, the faint scent of Italian cigarettes mingling with espresso on the table. Tommy sat, hands trembling, as he pulled a check from his leather briefcase. $1,000 USD. Dad, Marco. No, Mr. Marco, he choked up. Without you, I'd still be that kid running from cops. You gave me a second chance. Now I repay it. This million for your rest, to travel Italy as you dreamed. Marco eyed the check, shaking his head. I don't need money, Tommy. I need to see you live meaningfully. But Tommy knelt, tears falling. Then take it to continue the circle. You received from others. Now pass it on. Marco sighed, clutching the check to his chest. All right, son. But this will fund scholarships for immigrant kids. That sparked it. Tommy invested that year's entire profit to open Tommy's Kitchen Academy, a free culinary institute right at the old Brooklyn Market, where he once stole bread. The shiny 2-story building, ground floor, a state-of-the-art kitchen with industrial ovens, barista counters, and an organic vegetable garden. Upstairs, classrooms for life skills, English, and counseling. Each year, 500 street kids, aged 10 to 18, were selected, homeless, hungry children with eyes like young Tommy's. Opening day brought the Brooklyn Market back to life. Kids lined up in crisp, white aprons, eyes wide at piles of flour and fresh tomatoes. Tommy took the stage microphone in hand. Kids today, you don't just learn to cook, you learn to save yourselves. From these hands, he raised his burn-scarred palms. You'll need dough-seasoned flavors and dream big. First lesson, kneading bread dough, laughter echoing as flour dusted faces. A skinny 12-year-old named Joey recently caught stealing apples, bit into his first loaf, eyes sparkling. Can I be a chef? Tommy knelt, handing him an apron. Not just can Joey, you'll be great. Maria, a 14-year-old orphan, created a veggie scrap sandwich, just like Tommy's debut. The academy taught more than cooking: 3 meals a day, tuition aid, part-time jobs at Bread and Redemption. The humanitarian loop closed. Joey became an intern after 3 months. Maria opened a small stall with a scholarship. Tommy stood by the academy window, watching kids play Brooklyn, wind carrying the familiar scent of baking bread. I did it, he whispered. But the journey doesn't stop. Mr. Marco visited, sitting with Tommy at sunset. You're not just repaying me, son. You're saving a generation. They clinked coffee cups, smiles warm. Success was now legacy, not money, but small hands needing futures. 15 years after Tommy fled from police, in the Brooklyn market, the city had changed. But he still kept his old apartment where the scent of baking bread mingled with children's laughter. Bread and Redemption was now a national empire. 55-star restaurants, billion-dollar revenue. But each branch featured a redemption corner, free meals for the homeless. Tommy, 37, had married Sophia, Mr. Marco's daughter, with her warm smile and inherited kneading talent. Their 5-year-old daughter, Lily II, toddled through the academy kitchen, hands covered in white flour. Daddy, I'm making redemption bread. On a Sunday morning, Tommy drove back to the old Brooklyn market. It buzzed as always. Fresh fish, vegetables, Greek-Italian calls. He stopped at that fateful bread stall, buying an identical loaf, crispy crust, soft crumb, still steaming hot. Biting into the first piece, memories flooded back, pounding heart, pursuing cops, the Rolls-Royce blocking the way, and Mr. Marco's outstretched hand. One stolen loaf, Tommy whispered, one given chance, and an entire life transformed. Tommy's Kitchen Academy was now a beacon, 5 locations across America, training 5,000 street kids yearly. Joey, the boy who received the first redemption loaf, was now head chef at the Chicago branch, fresh off a James Beard Award. Maria owned an organic sandwich chain, funding scholarships for 100 kids. Mr. Marco, 75, sat on his retirement home balcony, gazing at photos of graduates. I'm proud, Tommy. The circle of kindness never breaks. At dusk, Tommy stood before the academy, Brooklyn wind carrying fresh flowers aroma. Suddenly, a 12-year-old boy darted through the market, clutching a stolen apple police in pursuit. Tommy's heart clenched, his younger self mirrored. He smiled, stepping out to block the path. Let the kid go. He works for me. The boy stared, just like Tommy once did. From now on, you'll wash dishes and dream big, Tommy said, handing him a warm loaf. The story closed under a fiery sunset. From Brooklyn to the world. Bread and Redemption was more than restaurants. It was a symbol of hope. Tommy looked to the sky, whispering, everyone has innate talent. They just need an outstretched hand. Redemption isn't from bread, but from the human heart.